Coach, just to start, 21 hits, 14 runs, Louis goes 8 with 10 strikeouts. Just kind of walk through what you liked about tonight.
Well, first and foremost, Louis. Louis going 8 innings. He started Sunday, got cut short, and then with Thursday, Friday, Saturday this weekend, it was a great opportunity to have him start again. So, I thought he was phenomenal from pitch one and was really, really good and effective. 90 pitches through 8. He probably wanted to fight me for taking him out, but really, really good, well-pitched game. Good defensively. Chad over at third base obviously made the last play. No, I thought that was good. And then the cool thing is you got a guy like Dallin Leach who gets his first at bat and doesn't waste any time. It's a ball in the gap. And then Camden Sauce, who he got his first opportunity tonight, and I think he had 2 hits and a really, really good walk. And so 3 quality at bats out of his 5. So that's a really good sign, and that's what we're looking for, guys. Give them opportunities and for them to kind of run with it. So he's definitely put himself right back in the lineup tomorrow. And but that was a great thing. I think we had not having a Tuesday game. Sometimes when you have a bad taste in your mouth, you want to get right back out there and play. But I thought our effort and our practices on Tuesday and Wednesday were really, really good in terms of getting back to the basics all the way around: pitching, defense, offense, and just being able to kind of work on us a little bit. And hopefully obviously it showed tonight, but again, baseball's it's a really stupid sport that once you try and figure it out, it'll drive you crazy, and you get 21 hits tonight and score 14 runs and against the best pitching staff in the Big 12. So it's just a dumb game.
You know how important Lewis was in the rotation last year in the regular season. His start tonight, was he still ramping up at the beginning of the year? Was that some of the reason for him not being in the rotation early on?
No, I just think a couple of guys in front of him in terms of coming into the season. Zach Morris had a phenomenal fall and spring leading up into the season, and he won a spot, and Peyton Tolle and Kleck obviously, and so we thought about maybe starting him midweeks, but we felt like he was more valuable maybe pitching out of the bullpen a couple times for us while we're trying to figure out some of that. Because we have Abelt back, but you're still trying to figure out who you can rely on down there. So he was always the guy that we knew was going to start at some point. And for him, it was a matter of, like you said, kind of getting his pitch count up, and then being able to do that in midseason is difficult sometimes. But we built enough guys up where we felt like he was ready and willing to do that. And but he's different than everybody else on our staff in terms of how he pitches. And so it's tough to game plan for him.
You mentioned finding yourself throughout the week kind of as a team. Did the team do anything different this week in prep for Houston? Or was it just kind of...
We didn't. I mean, it really wasn't about Houston. It was more about, we all of a sudden aren't a terrible team. Just like at the beginning of the year, you're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. And I think we had a lot of people that were trying to do too much. And, it kind of just snowballed in the wrong direction. And just having an understanding, okay, let's take a deep breath, and let's understand that we're the same team that came out of the gate winning 13 in a row and basically scoring over 10 runs a game. And so, sometimes you, like I said, you try and figure it out, and you bang your head against the wall trying to figure out what in the heck's going on. And sometimes it's just about, hey, let's take a deep breath and let's get back to what we know to be true, and that's having really, really good practices to make sure that we're preparing ourselves as a team to be ready to play tonight, Thursday night. And did we do anything different? We didn't. I think the intensity and focus, I think, from the team probably was heightened a little bit more because, these guys want to do well for not only themselves but for TCU. And so, I think we talked a little bit about handling hard better, and being able to understand that this game will teach you a lot of lessons if you allow it to. And for us, I think it was about handling hard better. When things are hard, how do we handle it? And that's coaches included. Sometimes, we put pressure on players just because we want them to perform at their highest capabilities all the time. And that's just, it's not what baseball is.
know earlier this year when you were having the comebacks and a lot of runs scored and all that stuff, you talked about the resiliency and the energy in the dugout throughout. How has the energy been in the dugout the last few weekends?
Well, it's hard to have energy when you're not scoring runs and you're not hitting. It really is. As much as you want to be able to have energy, it's a lot of it's based on what you do on the field. And we just hadn't swung it very well for a little stretch, and that's tough to. But I think the main thing is you had a lot of guys that showed a lot of leadership through the tough times, through the tough stretch that we've had, and that's something that you want to see. We had that last year, where you see some guys step up into roles that maybe you didn't see that personality out of them before, and that's what you need. It can't be a coach-led team. It always has to be a player-led team, and I saw a lot of that on Tuesday and Wednesday in terms of players holding each other accountable in a good way in practice, and understanding that some of the mistakes we're making in practice then show up in the game, and we got to get that cleaned up. And sometimes it's us coaches who have to say it, but when all of a sudden you have a player that then brings it up without us having to say it, sometimes that's way more meaningful coming from a peer than it is a coach. And so, obviously you don't want to go through tough times, but baseball kind of parallels life a lot of times, and it's difficult. And how do you handle that? And I think that it was really good to see him enjoy, tonight, and be able to see, what their work was for, and it was a really good baseball game for us tonight.
How do you carry this over into the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, it starts again, and obviously it starts with Peyton Tolley. I thought, early in the game, I think it was 0-0 through the fourth, I believe, right? And we put up 4 zeros against them, and then we were able to get 4 runs in the bottom of the fourth, and it was almost a little bit of everyone kind of just took a deep breath, and Louis the big thing is we scored, he goes back out and gets a shutdown. We come back in, we scored 2 more, he goes back out, has a quick inning and shuts them down. Then we score 1, he goes back out and and gets another 0. Those things are huge in terms of momentum in baseball games, where your pitcher is just as important as the offense when they're hitting like that, is to get them back in the dugout and to get their offense or their defense and their pitcher back on the mound. And so it's going to start with Peyton, and then from that point forward, and then it's just a matter of, I thought there was a lot of guys that weren't trying to do too much. Maybe a little bit at the beginning of the game, but as the game kept going, I felt like they were more in character of trusting the guy behind them. And that was good to see, because it's never going to be one guy. And so I thought the lineup did a really good job in terms of being able to just trust the next guy, trust the next guy, and they did a good job of stringing that together and having a good day offensively.
What led to the Peyton Ryder swap at second and third?
We just felt like, second base is actually, it's a really difficult position, because a lot of your throws are going to be throws that are moving away from first base. And then also the double play. When we felt like Ryder probably has a little bit more arm strength in terms of on the play moving away and on the double play. And we felt like, Chat is really good defensively, and now all of his throws are going to be coming into the play. And you saw it the last out of the game where he backs up, gets the hop, and that guy was a really good runner, and he showed way better of an arm strength at third base than he did at second base, because I think everything's going into the play. And I think it gives him a little bit of fun I don't think he's ever played third base in his college career, and it's a little bit different. And sometimes different is good for guys, just to get out of the redundancy of playing the same position. All of a sudden you move him to third base, and it's almost like he had a new little spark in terms of how he played tonight. So we're just, again, give Sauce a chance, and there's some more guys that we're going to continue to give chances to, that just to make us, hopefully we can find a guy or two that gives us almost kind of like a trade deadline, where we haven't really utilized Sauce, and then all of a sudden he gets us 3 quality at bats, and it's a little shot in the arm for the offense from a guy that hadn't been given the opportunity to. So can't say enough about him in terms of he got his opportunity and ran with it. And a lot of times that's all it needs, is just the opportunity, and then what you do with it. So proud of him. You have.